All right, so if you're in the market for an in-ground pool, you might be looking at the different types of pool options and thinking to yourself, which one should I get? Well, if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to be talking about fiberglass pools and concrete pools and why we think fiberglass is the better option. Now, that's not saying that concrete isn't for you, but we think that fiberglass is a more well-rounded option for most homeowners. So we're going to go through the pros and cons of fiberglass and concrete pools. So concrete pools are generally more expensive to build than fiberglass, or definitely than vinyl liner pools. The price difference between fiberglass and concrete are actually they're pretty close together, but generally you'll find that concrete pools can run about 10 to 20% more expensive for a similar size pool with similar options. And that's generally because the materials can be more expensive and there is a lot longer of an installation time for concrete, so there's more labor there. For concrete pools, you're generally looking at an installation time of about 3 to 6 months. So for some people, that can be a really big factor when it comes to choosing what type of pool they're going to install. So concrete pools have a much rougher surface than fiberglass pools, and because of this rough abrasive surface, it's more prone to algae growth, which requires more cleaning and it requires more chemical upkeep to keep the water clean. So you have a higher maintenance there, and then you have more cost for chemicals. And since it's harder to maintain the chemicals in a concrete pool, you may have to frequently refinish your concrete surface if you don't maintain your chemicals well. Now, fiberglass, if you don't maintain your chemicals, you can have similar finishing issues with the gel coat. Apples to apples, if you just maintain your pool, you're going to be in a better situation. But it is harder to maintain the chemicals in a concrete pool because of that rough abrasive surface for the potential algae growth. There's also one truth when it comes to concrete, and is that concrete's going to crack. So over time, your concrete surface is definitely going to be prone to cracking. And with the porous nature of concrete, with that abrasive surface, it's prone to water absorption, which can lead to staining, and then that's going to push for more of that acid washing, that refinishing of that concrete surface. And then over about 10 to 15 years with all that acid washing, you're going to need to replaster the surface of your concrete pool. And that can range anywhere between $4,000 to $10,000 based off of the size of your pool. Another con for concrete pools is they're not necessarily the most compatible when it comes to saltwater options for your water. Because of that abrasive surface, the salt can actually deteriorate that faster, which can lead to more frequent acid washing and refinishing of that plaster material. So they're not necessarily bad. You can have salt water in concrete pools, but it can lead to more maintenance over time. So I've talked about a lot of cons. Is there anything that I think is good about concrete pools? Yes, concrete is great for customization. You can do any shape or size you want, budget limiting. Now, that's pretty similar with fiberglass. Budget limiting, it's going to limit the shape and size of what fiberglass pool you get. It's the same with concrete, depending on the size of your budget. It's going to limit that. But concrete is definitely the option for shape and size customization for pools. All right, so that's what I think about concrete pools. We're going to move over to fiberglass, pros and cons. I'm going to start with the biggest con of fiberglass, and it ties directly back in to that biggest pro for concrete, and it's the shape and size factor of fiberglass pools. It is the biggest downside of a fiberglass pool, is they are they're molds. They are set sizes and shapes, and you have to choose which size and shape you want. So that is the biggest limiting factor of fiberglass pools. But honestly, I think that's the only downside. Now, that also means that the biggest width of a fiberglass pool you're going to get is about 16 feet. And that's due to shipping restrictions. You can't ship anything wider than 16 feet. So your concrete pools and even your vinyl liner pools, they can be wider than 16 feet. They can be about 18 feet. I've seen 20 feet sizes. So your fiberglass pool is restricted in width. But now that the con's out of the way, let's get into the benefits. So fiberglass pools have a very nice smooth surface to them. This is nice for a couple of reasons. One, it's nice on your feet. You're not walking over all this abrasive, rough surface that can honestly be pretty annoying for your feet over time. And due to that smooth surface, it resists algae growth. So just with that con of concrete pools, It's a pro for fiberglass because you're not scrubbing as much to clean your pool, and you're also not wasting more chemicals to keep your water clean. So that is a really big pro for fiberglass. You're saving money in the long run when it comes to fiberglass versus concrete due to those chemical costs, and they're easier to maintain. Installation time, that's another big one. We talked about concrete taking 3 to 6 months. Fiberglass can take 3 to 6 weeks, depending on your installer and your design options that you choose for your patio and your decking and all that kind of stuff. Generally, though, for the actual dig set fill of the pool, that can be done in as little as a week. We've had clients to where we show up day one, we dig the hole, we set the rock, we pack it, and then we actually have the pool on site same day. We crane it in, we backfill with rock around it, and then we have the water truck come on site, fill the pool. We've done a dig set fill in a day without compromising on the quality of our work. It was a long day, but it's definitely possible if you got the right installers. So earlier we talked about the salt not being the best for concrete pools. That directly, again, ties into fiberglass because fiberglass pools are a great option for a saltwater system because you're not going to have that same type of abrasion for the pool surface. So saltwater systems, they're a great option for fiberglass. It's not going to damage the gel coat over time by any means. So we've gone through the pros and cons of both fiberglass and concrete pools. And if you decide to go with a fiberglass pool, none of this information is going to be that helpful unless you watch this video right here where I talk about the cost of fiberglass pools today in 2025. So I'll see you over there.